All right, we've talked about TV shows that we'd like to be video games, but how about some movies? I think off the top of my head, Equilibrium. Equilibrium has one of the highest body counts, I think, in any movie ever on screen, as far as like on-screen deaths. Obviously, there's movies with more implied deaths, but as far as on-screen death count goes, Equilibrium. And so for those of you who don't know, the idea of the movie is in the future, people have decided that feelings are what causes war. So everyone's forced to take these pills to remove feelings, and the people that don't take the pill, they get hunted down by these dudes called Grammaton clerics. Now, Grammaton clerics are awesome because they've mastered this science called gun kata, which is like a mixture of using guns with martial arts and like being able to fight like multiple people at once. So that like if you entered a room and you're a Grammaton cleric, the idea is that you could take on like 1 versus like 200, even if they all have guns and stuff, because you've mastered the science of knowing trajectories and where things are going. So if you were able to play as a Grammaton cleric in a video game, that'd be the coolest thing ever. You just walk into a room and it's just like all these crazy forms, like, and they always end in a cool pose. That's like one of the main things. They're just like bah, 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 guns going everywhere, and they're like whoom, and then they're just done. And then everyone's dead around them. It's the coolest thing ever. It's probably the coolest concept for a character in any movie or video game that I can think of. Just this ultimate badass. It doesn't matter if he's facing an army. 1 versus a million, he's gonna win because he's just got that science down.
All right, I think my first movie is going to be Battle Royale. By far my favorite foreign film, one of the only foreign films that I've seen and actually liked a lot. It's kind of like a much more badass Hunger Games. So if you've ever played the Minecraft kind of Hunger Games, it would be like this, only far more gory, and then you get random weapons. So at the beginning of the movie, they give each kid, and it's kids, much like the Hunger Games, but it's this like government program where they're like, the kids are out of control, let's teach them a lesson. We're gonna put them out on an island and force them to fight to the death. And the way they force them to fight to the death is they all have explodey collars around their neck. And if they go into the wrong zone, every day they announce, they're like, hey, if you're in this zone, your collar's gonna explode, and then you'll be dead. So they can't go into those zones, and then the zones that they can't go into increase until it forces them into conflict. And there's one kid that signs up and he's just super crazy, and he's like, I volunteered for this shit. I just want to kill kids legally, and he's a badass. But anyway, it would just be an awesome game. If you were in the wrong zone, you explode. The map slowly gets smaller. It would be multiplayer until you're forced to do battle with these other kids and then fight to the death. Also, you could have a game mode where there were kids that were in the movie trying to take down the military, the people who made it. So there could be a mode where, you know, if you defeat the military, you win. But then one kid could just betray those kids and be like, okay, I killed all the other kids, I win now. Take me home, military, and you could win that way. It would be a really deep, kind of awesome game. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go see it. It's like the Hunger Games without all that, let's explain backstory and exposition and build up to the Hunger Games and then only show 10 seconds of violence. No, it's like murder, 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 murder. It's much better.
I have a fear of clowns, and like most other people, they say it's oh hey, I'm terrified of clowns because this movie called It. No, screw it. There was a movie back in 1987 that came out called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now, if you're gonna make a video game based off of a movie that doesn't exist yet, it has to be this one. They're these f***ing alien clowns, and they're super strong, and they're super creepy, and they have like these giant red noses, and the only way to kill them is to shoot or destroy the nose. They're like zombies, but the brain is the nose, and they're gonna eat you. Seriously, they put you in giant things of cotton candy, and they put in crazy straws, and then they just suck your blood that way. Man, this thing really f***ed me up as a kid. But it'd be so cool to play as like a police officer or one of the survivors when the clowns are attacking. Man, if you haven't seen this movie, it's on Netflix Instance. You can go watch it. It's 90 minutes of B horror movie greatness. Right now it's not very scary, but if you watch it when you're like this big, seriously, I was like this big, and I would hear the opening cutscene or the opening intro music when the clowns are laughing and they're in space. You can't even see them, you just hear them. I ran into my room and hid behind my little tiny like 3-foot tall dresser, and it's like, all right, I'm just gonna stay here for the next 90 minutes because f***ing clowns, dude. And then, so you can like pull up other survivors. You can be kind of like Left 4 Dead. So if you have like multiplayer, 4 people trying to survive, you find like the random weapons, and you have to like beat the clowns in the nose before they shoot you with their cotton candy guns. Or maybe they'll put you in this giant bubble, and then you have to like go and like shoot your friends out of the bubbles to save them. Killer Clowns. Oh man, that movie really messed me up as a kid. Like, I thought I was over my fear, and then I was at this convention where this guy dressed up as a killer clown, and I saw him from like across like a long distance, and I'm like, hey, so yeah, that's a great movie. Yeah, that still freaks me out. Still very terrifying. Clowns with giant noses. Like, they aren't just clowns. They're they're monsters that look like clowns. Like a normal clown is no longer scary. Oh, it's like, oh, it's a human with a painted face. This is a fucking monster clown. And then like the main boss would be the same boss from the movie, which is like a 20-foot tall Clownzilla. It's like, I'm gonna smash you with my giant clown feet. Yeah, that should be a game. Immediately, that should be a game. Aim for the nose, guys. Aim for the nose.
Okay, this one's a little different. I didn't actually see the movie, but Van Helsing. So the idea of Van Helsing is, it's this dude, and he's going and he's hunting down all these different characters. He's got like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or whatever, and you got the Wolfman, and you got Dracula. So instead of being that character hunting down all those other people, how about a fighting game with all those different characters in it? How awesome would that be? You got the guy that can turn into the Wolfman. Maybe that's just like one of his powers. He's like normal dude fighting, and then he can become the Wolfman. You got Dracula, who can turn into a bat and say blah. I don't really know what Dracula does. I think he can hypnotize people. That's like one of his main powers. You got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's an obvious one because he turns into a big monstrous dude. But all the different sort of like fairy tale, phantasmic characters, it would be awesome to see them in one universe fighting each other. The Headless Horseman maybe is in there. I don't know. But there's plenty of people you could put in that game to be a kick-ass fighting game.
And then, how about Sharknado? Sharknado, for those of you who haven't heard of it. Yes! Sharknado, the movie, the game, where you get to play as the Sharknado. Just this wandering tornado where you fire sharks at your enemies. I don't know, the military or something. You can also play as like the guy with the chainsaw who chainsaws the shark in half. I've never actually seen the movie. I've just seen clips of it, but it looks like awesome. I would love to, yeah, having flying sharks as enemies would be awesome. It's like, oh my God, they're coming straight for you. And then like, then like a secret unlockable if you collect enough stuff, enough DNA evidence. It like explains the science of the Sharknado. It's like collect the DNA evidence to understand how sharks are surviving out of water in this tornado, and then you collect it all. It's like, just kidding. That doesn't make any sense. We're not explaining that at all. So that would be a nice little unlockable. And then I believe that same that same studio, if you could call them that, also made a game also made a movie called Sharktopus, which was a half shark, half octopus monstrosity. And that one, in the sequel to Sharknado, called Sharktopus NATO, you definitely could play as a sharktopus and like hunt your prey. And it uses its tentacles to kind of walk on land, and it has an awesome theme song. Sharktopus won't be kept at bay, and you can never, ever, ever get away. It's a monster with its own theme song, so it's pretty awesome. Should definitely be a game.
Now this might already be a game. If so, let's forget about that game and make a really good 300 game where you can go through the story and have like all the different fights, but it should be a combination of a little bit of God of War meets a little bit of the Lord of the Rings games for like the GameCube and PlayStation 2, where you can like upgrade each, like you maybe play as 3 of the different Spartans that were there, and you can like upgrade different combos for each one. Maybe you can like switch during the different combats. So maybe one time you're fighting like the warriors from Persia, or maybe like the Asian guys with the masks. And so you have all these different fights. Maybe you can do like, maybe they can make a few little liberties. So it's maybe like on the way there's like a giant army of thieves or something. Man, who would be stupid enough to go against a bunch of Spartans that looked like the way they did? Man, that's pretty much why I want to play that game. I would play a 300 game just so I can pretend I'm one of the 300 soldiers, because damn, those guys are sexy. I could not, no matter how many crunches I do, I will never get my stomach to look like that. And I just want to feel like them. I just want to feel them, feel like them. Yes, that. Oh God, that's why I'm single. Because I do not look like them.
I gotta go Worgen. I mean, you gotta give it up for any race that makes players go from the Horde to the Alliance. I used to be hardcore Horde. When I saw Worgen, I'm like, badass werewolf dudes. Yes, please.